Your alternative talk radio contact. The Planet. KGRAradio.com.
With infinite complacency, people went to and fro of the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design, man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space.
Hello there, Phrazies. So before we get into this evening's show, just a couple of things. First of all, I am still in contact with my resident theologian, John Paul Capice. And yes, the Fallen Ones podcast is still due to come out. But John Paul recently told me that he's actually having a little bit of trouble with people contacting him. We're not really sure quite what's going on there, but I wanted to send the message out there that if you are trying to get a hold of John Paul, you can always contact me and I can forward the information to him until we get figured out what exactly might be going on there. So Shannon at intothefrayradio.com, or you can go to the contact page on the website. Also, and this is a pretty cool resource for you guys up in Canada, specifically in and around Alberta, Canada, there is a new website for story sharing and reporting of Sasquatch encounters. Go to sasquatchalberta.com. Again, that's sasquatchalberta.com. And now, on to Clint for the laundry list.
Welcome to another episode of Into the Fray, hovering over you like a black triangle in a deserted field. Visit the mothership at intothefrayradio.com. There you can find all the episodes, the blog posts, iTF gear, and sign up for the free guest newsletter. The weekly show is, of course, always free and available in all podcatchers, but if you'd like to support the show, and why wouldn't you, go to the website and click Become an Insider, which in turn gets you extra content each and every month. And by the way, if you would be so kind as to leave a rating and review in your listening platform of choice, Cosmic Karma shall be yours. Be part of the discussion by joining the interactive ITF Facebook group, follow on Twitter at ITF_radio, and Instagram. If you have an experience that you'd like to share, email Shannon at intothefrayradio.com or call the hotline anytime at 844-866-3366. Thanks so much for listening. Now, if you would be so kind, buckle up your safety belts. Put that tray table in the upright position. Liftoff is upon us.
Okay, so you guys know we're gonna run this for an hour, and then we'll say our goodbyes. But let me do kind of sort of an intro. That way, people know what the hell is going on when I air this thing. So this is kind of this came up after our New Year's Eve chat because it was so epic, and everybody did such a great job, and it was a great conversation. And I thought it'd be a great way to have us all kind of be more interactive with each other. That's the whole point of the Insider group. So I thought, what better way than once a month at the end of each month, even if it's the first week of the following month. I figured if it just cannot come together at the end, no harm, no foul. But basically it will be a monthly recap of if you guys ran into any interesting news stories or encounter tales. Like I said, even if it's on another show, I have no problem with bringing up other shows. But yeah, whatever you guys have come across, if it happened to you, hell, even better, it happened to your friend, great. But that way, I haven't decided on a name for sure, but I think the easiest way to categorize and keep it organized is maybe just call it, episodic, month and year. So Frayed January 2018 is what I'm going to roll with this first time. And yeah, so I'm excited to hear what you guys have brought forth to the table.
vocabulary.
Vocabulary.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, anybody want to jump in and start?
I have a couple of stories. Sure.
Go for it.
I'll kick us off since I'm the news guy.
Yeah, you are.
Excellent.
Don't screw it up.
It has been reported in the last week and a half of more mysterious booms. We had a mysterious boom in northern Illinois, and the Kendall County Sheriff's Department. There were 2 off-duty deputies that felt it in their homes. It shook the house, and there were an array of phone calls made into the Kendall County Sheriff's Department, and the sheriff that was on duty did some research. He sent squads out through the area. They could not find any source of what the boom was. They ended up contacting the FAA or Federal Aviation Administration to see if there were any military aircraft that may have, broke the sound barrier or sonic boom. And they informed the Sheriff's Department that all military activity was way too far north for anything to, resound back to this area. So it's been left as a mystery. It was not thunder snow, being that it's snowy and wintry here. And it was not an electrical transformer because there was no report of any power outages. And at the same time, the same thing happened up in Kennebunk, Maine, Kennebunk County, where Kennebunkport is at in southern Maine. And there were several reports of the same thing. Sheriff's Department received a call. They did investigate one noise complaint. However, it turned out to be somebody shot off a cannon regarding the AFC championship win when the Patriots were in the playoffs to go to the Super Bowl. But too many people live far away from that encounter for it to have been the boom that they heard, because it shook their house as well. So there were calls made into the U.S. Geological Survey Center to see if there were any earthquakes. There were 3 earthquakes in northern Maine, but do not believe that that was a result of what caused the booms. So again, we get worldwide reports of mysterious booms, and nobody seems to know where they're coming from. We also had a... go on.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I'm okay with blaming it on any Patriots fans. I think that I'm on board with that, because not only are they causing, mysterious booms, but I like to rag on the Patriots. I'm sorry. I just do. I'm a Seahawks fan. So here's the thing.
Mary.
Are you guys
a Patriots fan?
She is. Yeah, she is. She has to be, right? She's in Mass. So, no, I just like to give people a hard time. I'm like, how does it feel to know that your team is killing the NFL? Because I guess the NFL said it'll be like the lowest ratings that they'll probably have in X amount of years because the Patriots are in it again. And I'm like, well, that's what you get for being the best, I guess. Right?
Yeah, it's getting ho-hum, getting boring.
Oh, it's okay. I was just giving... I like to give Patriots fans a hard time. Okay, so I'll introduce... I got a couple more people that just jumped in, but just give me a second here, guys. So, Vance, I know they're saying, okay, it isn't this, it isn't this, it isn't this. Are they giving any speculation on what it might be?
Both sheriff's departments have zero to come back and say what they speculated. They have absolutely nothing.
Interesting.
Nothing. And then one other thing, and then I'll wrap it up and somebody else can tell their story. Received a report, wink, wink, on Monday, January 29th at early in the morning over at Phantoms and Monsters. There was another winged creature seen southwest of the city of Chicago, far southwest, outside of Joliet. The woman was having a cigarette on her front porch and saw this thing fly over. She said it wasn't human sized, but it was what she could see. It definitely was a bat-winged creature, and it did not flap wings. It just glided overhead and through the trees until it was out of sight. She was familiar with the flying humanoid, so she knew who to contact. So she contacted Lon Strickler over at Phantoms and Monsters. A phone call was returned, and he was able to interview her more at length about what it was that she saw. So he did post it on his Facebook page, Friends of Phantoms and Monsters, if anybody's interested in reading on the latest flying creature or humanoid type of being, whatever it is.
And Vance, are you guys going to get her
so
on?
That's what
I've
got as of current.
Okay. Are you guys going to be getting her on one of the radio shows or anything like that? Is it just?
It has not been brought up yet, but that doesn't mean that wouldn't happen. We leave that up to Lon as far as anonymity is concerned. So that's entirely up to Phantoms and Monsters, whether they do bring that back up or not. We'll see.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, we'll keep you posted if we find anything new.
Cool. Thanks, Vance. Good stuff. I like that. It's interesting that's still going on there in Chicago. I don't know what's up with that, but.
Yeah, right. Well, oddly enough, it warmed up unseasonably warm here and was pushing near 60 when the sightings happened. And Lon mentioned that too. Maybe that, cold weather kind of subsides on the sighting somewhat, but when it gets warm out, it just somehow it seems to ramp up a little bit. So I don't know if one has anything to do with the other or not. Maybe more people are outside and paying attention more when it's warmer out, but who knows? Who knows? Good
stuff. Thank you, sir. Okay, well, we have Chris Holm, and we have Mr. Clint Granberry of OK Talk in the house. What's going on, guys?
What up, Chris?
Chris, can you hear me, buddy?
Rules were real specific.
Yeah, dude, don't mess with me, man. Whoa. I have resting bitch face on right now. You just can't see it. Clint, in the house with you, we have Jera, Mary, Vance, as you just heard, Pam. Brennan Storr is in the house. Ghost Story Guys podcast. Chris, can you hear me? Are you reading me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just faintly. I don't know if I'm coming through too good.
Actually, it sounds pretty good. Can you guys hear Chris all right?
Yep, I can hear him.
Excellent.
I can hear him. Hello to everyone else from Dallas, Texas. I love you.
Hello.
All lies. He tells me that all the time.
High five, man.
I'm just kidding, buddy.
It's got to be warmer in Dallas now than it was the last time we talked.
Oh, day-to-day proposition. What are we doing here? What are we getting into?
Well, what we're attempting here is kind of to bring the insiders all together on a monthly basis, hopefully, and just do a monthly recap of any weird stories anybody's come across, news or encounter, otherwise, whatever it might be, whether it's a personal story or not, just to kind of bring us all in the same little area. I'm going to try to do it at the end of every month and then air it on the main show, because I do miss the intro and the banter with the boys, and that's when we kind of would do our news stuff. And I'm like, well, what better way than to have you guys help me scour for some of the latest and the greatest with what might be going on the old Fortiana. So that's what the plan is, man.
All right, right on. I can dig it.
Yeah.
Well, I have something for you if you want to hear it.
Go.
Please.
So I got a text from Monica Rollins about 2 weeks ago, and she said, you have to listen to the latest Dogman Encounters podcast, which I think would have been like episode 180.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, you have to listen to it mainly because it deals with Tyler, where I'm from, Tyler, Texas, to the fullest. Excuse me. And what I found was really interesting, and I'm sure we're all very familiar with the idea that there are places in the country that are labeled Devil's something, Devil's Pass, or Devil's Ass Crack Mountain, or these places in time that have a connotation of something that would give off the idea that it would be kind of shady to go there, or evil, or why would these Native Americans name all these places Devil something such? And what really tripped me out about this lady that is telling this story on the Dogman Encounters podcast is the fact that where she is claiming to have seen said walking Dogman werewolf creature is a road that it wasn't officially called this, but as a native of Tyler, it was called Werewolf Road. And I have since, over the last 2 weeks, gotten a hold of a lot of people from my youth that grew up in Tyler as well. And this is an area where this was the thing that we would be told that was the spooky dooky place to go. Well before I was of driving age or getting out, I just knew that that was the place that people went to get creeped out. And the stories that I would hear about it were all really wacky. And then when I was able to get myself out there, could attest to how creepy it was. And so it was quite a surprise to find out that a place where that had always had this connotation of a wolfman beast and the name of the road would in fact produce said encounter. And I thought that was really interesting.
That is. Clint, what was the stories that you heard all those years ago? I mean, were they multi-topic? Did they run the gamut?
Well, what's really interesting is that she begins telling the story by saying that naming this cemetery, and I wasn't familiar with the name of the cemetery, so I looked it up, and lo and behold, it is a mile south of my parents' place, where I grew up, where I spent all my time. So immediately I'm like, what the heck? What's up with all that? And I didn't know that there was an old cemetery out there. That wasn't part of the thing that I was told. I was always told that it's one of those famous East Texas roads that back in the day, this was legitimate hardcore forest. Now it's a little bit different. The development south has changed a lot of it, but back in the day, you could go a mile or two away from where the end of the edge of town and you were in the thicket. And so it was completely isolated and one of those roads that you would drive down in the middle of the day, no matter how sunny it was, and the canopy would cause it to be dark. I remember there's a really sharp curve at one point and a big field over to the right. And I remember hearing stories about people driving down there being car accidents, people having perished, driving down that road too fast and not making the turn and going off into the field and crashing and whatever. The crazy thing about it is that the tree canopy was littered with beads and objects that people somehow, one way or the other, had thrown up into the trees. So when you would go out there and the breeze would come through, there would be it would make noise. But the old story was always that if you made it to that curve, you would turn your car off completely and honk the horn and wait to see the red eyes appear. And of course, we've all heard the stories about these dog folk and how they inherently are evil and a lot of times associated with the red eyes. And it was once again confirmation of something that almost an urban legend of my youth, to now find out that after the fact someone had claimed to have actually encountered something that would lend credence to the fact that that would be the name of the road.
That's cool. I'll make sure to link that episode. I have a question for you, though, and this might be way off, but where in relation to Tyler is the place that you found that massive pile of scat? How far away is that?
Oh, no. That's Lake Worth.
So that was in Lake Worth. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, that's why that was such a big deal, because, I mean, the Lake Worth monster, right?
Yeah. I forgot that was
one of
right
those
at
old
Lake
famous
Worth.
tales. And yes, yeah, that's out west of Dallas. It's probably a good hour from where I am right now. But
because everybody
still very
likes
strange. And
what?
I was just going to say it's still very strange, and I thought even more bananas that Matt, the guy that does the show with me, that Matt works with the person who her and her mom saw a creature out there.
What was the year of the sighting from that podcast episode? Do you remember?
It's one of my only complaints is that there was not a specific year. And I never do this. I actually responded to one of her comments on the YouTube link. She actually had come in and was responding to comments. And I was like, hey, we need to talk because I need to know when you're talking. This would have been, in my estimation, late 90s because she doesn't live there now, and she was her family was in oil and gas, which is a great reason to come to Tyler, Texas. She lives in the Ouachita Mountains now. And so she was saying that she basically had moved to town as a junior in high school, and that the house that they moved in over there, I can't explain to you enough that I could basically throw a rock from where I grew up and hit that area. And one, it creeps me out that I didn't know that there was a cemetery over there that is old enough to have early 1800s, possible slave cemetery, possible Civil War stuff going on with it. But the fact that she had mentioned when development started in that area, obviously that kind of tipped me off that I could kind of pinpoint when she would have been staying if that would have happened. So I would have said like 95 to early aughts probably. But again, I've reached out to this woman, and but she's probably not as big of a narcissist as me, so she's probably not going back to the YouTube link over and over again and looking at the comments. So it could just be that she's missed it. But
at least you admit
I would
it.
know that if my story was put up on YouTube, I'd be like, let's see what people are saying about me now.
Oh my God, YouTube is terrifying. The commenters on YouTube just make you want to sit in a corner and cry for like 3 hours. I try my hardest not to ever look at the YouTube stuff. Are you guys going to be covering this tie-in, with Tyler and whatever might be being seen out there on OK Talk at all coming up?
I was definitely going to try. And a couple of days ago, I was actually on the phone with my good friend, David Ellis of the Olympic Project. And we were talking about, I was getting some updates on Devil's Creek, and we were just catching up. It's been crazy over the holidays. And so we were just catching up. And I was telling David about this same scenario. And there was multiple times, especially last summer, late in the summer into the early fall, and then I was in Tyler quite a bit right at the beginning of summer, where I was at my parents' house a lot. And I would be coming home. I'd be coming in late night, 2:00 in the morning, and I would kind of be sitting in my car or whatever, talking on the phone or doing whatever I do. And I'd be outside and I would hear a lot of wacky noises. And a few times I actually was intrigued enough to turn my phone on because I was like, what is going on over there? And just where my parents' house sits is an actual development neighborhood, I guess you would say. But as in that there's houses just across the street. But on the other side of those houses is a fence line, and then it's a lot of open property. There are ranch-style homes that have 5 acres to 10 acres, and it's really sprawling and very natural in nature. And then the forest kind of still, in the way that East Texas is, it's like you don't knock the forest down, you just kind of build inside the forest. And so the idea, there were times when I told David that I was convinced that there was something that was coming up through that field, because I would hear the dogs barking way, 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 way far in the distance. And then dogs closer to me would start barking, and the dogs closer would start barking. And I had just convinced myself that it was a giant cat or whatever, probably a bobcat or possibly a cougar or whatever. But the idea that no less than half a mile from that area that there would be reports of some sort of creepy creature hanging around a cemetery, which it seems like they really enjoy being spotted in a cemetery. I don't know what's going on with that either. But I found it fascinating. I thought it was a connection, especially the connection with the legend that the place was known as Werewolf Road, really stopped me down for quite a while. So yeah, I'm actually going to try to shoot down there for a little early afternoon, probably tomorrow. And I just know that it's not going to be anything like I remember it, but obviously they haven't bulldozed the cemetery. So I would at least be interested in going and seeing its placement in and around the original location.
Yeah, and you're probably not one for really trespassing and such. I mean, it's never a good idea to be in a graveyard when you're not supposed to be, but maybe you should become that human burrito roll and just camp somewhere around there and throw some audio up and see what comes out at night to check you out.
I can't imagine that they would, if it's a cemetery, you're allowed there. Maybe you're not allowed there at night or whatever.
I think it's at night. Isn't that, Brendan, isn't that the situation with cemeteries, is that once, basically once it gets dark, you have to leave? Isn't that kind of across the board?
I mean, I know Ross.
Not necessarily.
If it's across the board. Can you hear me okay?
You got a little far again.
Down way, way, way down that tunnel.
God damn. How about now?
That is so much better.
All these things. Anyways, I was going to say Ross Bay Cemetery here in Victoria, they turf you out after night, but I think it just depends on where it is. I mean, if it's far enough off in the sticks and you're not making any ruckus, I don't know how they'd know you were there.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. There's a few that, in fact, I think there's a lot of places where they may not even have a fenced off area, but there will be a little sign that says, the cemetery hours or whatever up until after dark. The interesting thing is that this particular cemetery now, much like the place that I refer to as the side cemetery, where all that crazy activity that that goes back years and years and years, and that I had revisited from my youth, it's another place where the historical society has come in and kind of put some money into keeping it up. And so I'm fairly certain that, at least if nothing else, I would have daytime access to the area. So look for photographs of that being posted, if nothing else. But I'd really like to track this lady down, and this is not a shot at Vic, because Vic's not from there, but my questions would be much more detailed in terms of when are we talking, what was the situation. And plus, I think it's fascinating to, again, it's like my hometown was a bevy of mystery, and it slowly revealed to me as I grow older, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool stuff. Keep us informed on that. I don't know if you guys, like I said, are going to be doing an episode or two kind of revolving around that. That would be pretty cool, though, to do the tie-ins.
Right. I'll definitely be bringing it up with him.
Yeah.
And had shared the story, and it's a topic that I'm fascinated by. I don't know, again, if I've kind of stated this on the show at times, that I have a hard time believing that there are families of dogmen living out in the woods and that they create baby dogmen. And so I kind of have an idea that maybe it's something else, especially since we go all the way back to Anubis and the guardian of the gates of hell, and the fact that they're always seen in graveyards and or around places like that seem to be connected. But it's a topic that I'm fascinated by, and that I know a couple of people who I trust implicitly who have reported to have seen them, and I have no reason to think that they're bullshit, making stuff up, I guess. So it's a fascinating topic.
You know what, the other thing about dogmen, I think that most dogmen, it sounds like they need to really get on a good regimen of glucosamine, because that whole pop into the joints and everything just really creeps me out.
Right? Yeah. It's real disturbing.
Yeah. Just that added little detail. I'm like, the chills go up your spine. You're like, that's just wrong.
I'm also fascinated by the idea, the old world idea of a werewolf being a person who transforms into a wolf, and then the idea from the Native Americans that a brujo, or basically a witch who's dabbling in the dark arts, be it man or woman, someone who maybe that we would refer to as a skinwalker or whatever, that could transform themselves into that thing. And it's the idea that you can take old European legend and lore of a person that has a curse on them or has the power to turn themselves into this thing. And then the fact on the other side of the planet, in a different religion and civilization altogether, there is the idea that a person could turn themselves into that creature. And there has to be some sort of connection between all that stuff, because, again, I don't believe in coincidence. It doesn't just so happen that that's a thing. At least I don't believe it. And if I'm more interested in the mystery and the curiosity and figuring out why that is the link. But with the idea of the quote unquote werewolf or dogman, it always seems to come back to the transformation aspect. And maybe it's a way that the physical transformation from a man into a wolf may have just been the best way possible for old world people to explain something like that being possible or happening.
Yeah, I don't know.
Something's going on there. I don't know what it is.
I would never want to see it, though. I mean,
I'm going to chase that rabbit, because I like chasing rabbits.
Yeah, do it, man. I like when you're recording in your car and you're like, okay, I'm still in my car and I'm really freaked out right now. I love that kind of stuff, because that's when it's the best, when you're just like by yourself. You don't have any kind of a partner in crime for that kind of stuff, and you're just like, okay, this place is really effing creepy, and it's pitch black. I can't see anything. Reports from the field.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised by how engaging it ends up being, I guess.
No, it is. It works. That's what I'm saying. I'm not poking fun at all. It really works. It's creepy. No. There's something about, I also think that when you're able to hype up your own level of fear, enhances things. Oh, it comes across. And like, you're not acting. Like, I could hear, I was like, Clint really doesn't like being there. I was like, Clint really didn't. He was not having fun, man.
I would enjoy it if I had someone with me a lot more. But then again, it wouldn't feel as completely isolated and creepy as it does when you're alone.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, thanks for the contribution. I had not heard about that new Dogman story, so I'll have to check that out, especially since it's from your old stomping ground. So thank you so much.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's episode 180. It was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
so
I'll
shout out to Vic.
Yeah,
definitely. We may have to go back channel to Vic and ask him if he's willing to share any kind of contact with Angel, because she doesn't seem to be responding to YouTube comments.
Yeah, like I said, though, YouTube can be quite the scary place. If you read just one comment, you're like, oh, God, ouch, my heart hurts. I just won't go back. So if she ran into anything like that, then that may be the culprit. But yeah, cool beans. OK Talk. Find that anywhere you find quality podcasts, and oktalkshow.com, or is it oktalk.com? I forget.
I think it's oktalkshow.com.
Okay.
I think that'll work.
Cool. I will make sure to link that just in case people cannot find that. Thank you, good sir. Of course,
Good
we
to
have.
be here. Is everybody there, or did people mute their phones? Because it's
yeah, they're sleeping, Clint. You're flipping boring, man. I mean, your voice is like butter. It's
yeah, we muted.
Yeah, no, everybody's
I'm
still
riveted.
here.
I was having
Yeah.
goddamn equipment failure, so.
Yeah. But Brennan's down in.
Good to hear the group.
Headphones, so.
Yeah, Brennan's down
Good
in
to hear the group
sewer
and ways of other than just text on a Facebook page.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
That's why. I mean, I was glad that the New Year's Eve special turned out the way it did, because I'm like, you know what, this works, man. This is fun, and you guys are all so great. So I thought, why not do it every single month? It's fun. All right, so we do have another podcaster in here with us, and that's Brennan Storr of the Ghost Story Guys. Brennan, I was listening while I was on my trip to you guys' latest, and is it true that you might start doing more frequent episodes?
Well, we talked about it. One last time. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Better.
Yes.
Okay. God damn. I tried to use the mixer and mic, and it just decided that no, Bren, you can go for yourself. So
Yeah, I love when it does that.
we're using so we're using the headset. My apologies. Anyway,
No, that's okay.
we talked about it. I think probably not. I think what we're going to do is end up doing a once a month bonus episode. But I think people who say we want to hear you guys every week, I think they don't know what they're talking about.
I don't know about that.
Like I don't know.
That's not
I
true.
think
See,
well,
Mary
you
said
say
it.
that now. I think we both. I don't know if we can stand each other that much too. That's the other thing, you know. So I think we're going to maybe do once a month bonus episode. And maybe also start doing a little more video content once we figure out exactly what we want that to be. I mean, if my business takes off this year, I'm going to try and travel a little more and maybe go to some horror cons or horror film festivals and try and do some video stuff there. And if we do, then that'll all end up on the YouTube channel.
You're coming out here in a couple months, so we'll go do some things. I still haven't gone out to Tom Devlin's Monster Museum. There's a couple places out here. I know that you don't want to go to Zach Bagan's museum, so I will not bring up that at all.
I was waiting.
I don't know
Yeah.
what gave you that impression.
Yeah.
No. No, Monster Museum sounds fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually having lunch with a remote viewer out in Boulder City at some point on that trip, so it'd be cool to add more more spooky stuff to the list.
Yeah, that's where the Monster Museum is, so perfect. It's out in Boulder City.
Oh, that works, yeah. I actually had to hire a remote viewer recently, and that was kind of an interesting experience. You know, I didn't have to, but I'm working on a research project, and I wanted to get a sense of a place that was a little deeper than just look around and tell me what it looks like. So I got a hold of someone who got a hold of someone, and I tell you, man, these folks, they're good at what they do. I mean, we didn't necessarily get the information I needed, but her description of the location was uncanny.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's just to see that in action is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by that subject. Were you going into it like, well, I'm not going to expect anything, and you were kind of blown away by what happened, or did you already know that she was pretty legit?
I knew she was legit because she runs a consulting company, and I think does it on a fairly regular basis. So if people are coming back, then she must be able to do it.
Yeah.
It wasn't great for my purposes, which is there is a house in Victoria that has a very, very unique quality to it. It's a very unpleasant place to be around. And over the last 2 weeks, you may have heard on the new episode, I had these really strange experiences while I was out walking.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I approached this one street, I would start to feel distant and far away, and especially late at night. And I realized it felt like there was just no air, like I was walking into a place where there was no air and I was all alone. And I realized that road is directly in line with this house where I've had all these. Basically, I haven't walked past this place in 5 years now, because I've had shadow people follow me home. and that's coming from a guy who doesn't necessarily, who didn't before believe in these kinds of things. So I don't go past there anymore. But this road is directly in line with that place. So I thought, well, I'm going to hire this remote viewer to get her, see if she can pull anything up from the area that's a little more metaphysical. And I found just the right person, because apparently not all remote viewers will do that. I think because they're very sensitive to being called kooks or quacks, so they keep things to a very nuts and bolts. I see a house and I see this. But she was able to give me some insights, nothing I can verify yet, and nothing that explains why the house is the way it is. But what was fascinating is she said there is someone or something there that says help. And then I had her surveil another site for me. And I don't know if you recall, I can't give the specifics on air, but I sent an email to you a while back describing a situation where I sort of remote viewed a place myself.
Yes.
Unintentionally. Well, I had her look at that place. And what's interesting is in the same place, she said there's something else that says help. And so one place is in Pennsylvania, the other is in Victoria, 2 blocks from my house. Oh. So the question now is, what connects these things? Why are both places making the same sound? So I'm hoping to explore that a little bit. It won't be anything I'm publishing for the time being, but just for my own, I guess you call it personal development or whatever. Trying to figure out why some of the weird shit that happens.
Brennan, she said something else, not someone else, is calling for help?
Well, I think that was more... maybe it was just that help is being called. Okay. I don't know if she necessarily said someone or something, but like I said, this place I was called to. I was reading one of Pilates 411 books, Sobering Coincidence, and I got a very strong image of this place. And I'd never heard of it before, never found it before. Had no idea that it was even a real place. I thought I was just imagining something. And through a series of circumstances that but I can't get into, I discovered that, no, this is in fact a real place. And it looks basically the way I saw it. And there was a slight color differential between what I saw and the reality. And it turns out that I kept seeing it during sunset. And that area at sunset has the colors that I had seen. Oh, wow. But as I said, I just don't know why. And it's, it's again, somewhere down in Pennsylvania. So I'm trying to unravel that, and not having much luck, but I think it's baby steps. These things seem to come when they want to come.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, that's really cool. So you'll be able to find out a little bit more when you get out this direction then, huh?
That's what I'm hoping. Yeah, I'm just going to see what shakes loose, because it seems to be that sometimes you go to a place and you run into stuff. I mean, last time I was in LA, I narrowly avoided being shot on 3 separate occasions. So like that, it worked out well for me, and it was sort of psychically intuitive stuff. So if nothing else, it makes for good stories.
Absolutely, especially for what we do, right? It seems like I'm always like hollering, like, I want to be more like Brennan and have all this weird shit happen to me. But sometimes it seems like some of that stuff just, you're like, you better just shut up right now. Just knock it off. And
well, the worst part is, because you tell people what's going on and they think you're making shit up, because they say, well, no one has this much weird stuff happen to them. And I say, well, no, it doesn't happen a lot. It's just, you tell the stories all together, because otherwise it's just, I heard a weird noise yesterday. Well, who gives a shit? So you kind of wait until you heard the weird noise and saw the weird thing, and you just tell it all together.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm doing this. Our next episode is going to be on fairies, and
nice.
I was just had this interesting little thing. I'm reading a book called Fairy Tradition in Britain. It's a collection from, I think, 1948. But they mention that chimes are part of the experience. Sometimes you hear chimes or a chiming. And when I had that experience by the house the other day when I was out walking, or the other night when I was out walking, believe it or not, I heard chimes all the way home. So,
oh my gosh,
makes you
creepy.
Didn't know the association at the time.
Oh yeah. You're just the best for segues. And I know Pam probably just grinned ear to ear with that because I know that she had someone contact her with a story. We won't be divulging their name. But before I move on to that, perfect segue. Thank you, sir. Look at you. You are, in fact, a remote viewer, a.k.a. psychic, because I needed that segue. So you can find Brennan and Ian and the Ghost Story Guys at ghoststoryguys.com. And just like I mentioned for OK Talk, and of course for Into the Fray, anywhere you find quality podcastery, that's where you can find those guys too. So
that's true.
Yeah.
And I also do a weekly music show. You can find me at stokefm.com Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Pacific.
When you drop that bomb during the Ghost Story Guys episode, I die laughing because Ian's like, Jesus Christ. It irks him to no end, and I love it.
I live to annoy that guy.
Yeah, you do. It's a huge part of the show. You got to keep that going. It's all about torturing Ian. Okay,
do that
Pam.
Laugh again, Brennan. That laugh was the best.
Doesn't he have an incredible laugh? It is. It's got that kind of evil tone to it.
That is the best.
It is. All right, Pam, you are up, my friend. And yeah, just try to edit out her name if it's, I don't know if it's just in the beginning or if you're reading verbatim. Just if it comes out, I'll make a note of the time and I'll make sure I'll edit that out basically before it goes to air, okay?
Okay, I'll just say her first name. And can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
So, I don't want to give a lot of backstory on myself, but so you let me set up a way so people could contact me if they had situations or similar encounters, fae or fairy or otherworldly creatures of that sort. And this woman sent me an email. And she didn't want to come on the show, and she didn't even give me her last name. She just gave me her first name, Laura, which I'll use. But she had an experience in Scotland, and some of the things she had heard on my particular episode made her think she should contact me. And so she was on a trip with this guy, Mark, that she had met in college. He was living in Scotland, and she decided to go over and take advantage of having a friend over there and do some exploring and hang out with him. Now, they were just friends, but they sort of hoped they might have a romantic interest later on. But anyway, so they're both very experienced hikers. They both are very familiar with hiking and being in the forest. So he takes her on a trip in, she called it the Cairngorm, that's right, Cairngorm Park, National Park in Scotland, which is in the same area as Ben McDewey, if you've ever heard of that. Have you heard of Ben McDewey?
I haven't, no.
Well, that's where the legend of the Big Gray Man. I don't know if you've heard of that particular fae, but there's one called the Big Gray Man. So anyway, they're hiking. They're pretty far into the hike, 3-day hike on, and they're on the last bout of the hike, and this fog that rolls in on them. And she said, that's typical. Weather comes in this particular area of Scotland pretty fast. So they were used to that, but it got to where they couldn't see one foot in front of the other hardly. Now, he's been on this hike before, and he's very experienced in this area. He's been in, hiking off and on. This is her first time there, but he just tells her to take her time and watch her footing because this is a rocky area, and they're almost to the spot where they'll rest and let this pass them by. Well, she starts to hear like steps behind her. She thinks it sounds like someone's following her. And she gets his attention and asks him if he can hear it as well. And he does. And he calls out thinking it's another hiker. And there's no response and gives them both the creeps, but they never see anything. Well, they eventually get to the spot and they sort of hunker down and wait for the fog to go away. And it does, and everything seems good. They go on down to a loch. They make their way on down to where they're going to camp, called Loch Avon, Avon, Loch-Avon. And they set up their camp, still a little creeped out about the last incident, but they're trying to put it behind them. And they set up camp, everything's going good. They go to bed eventually. They're both dead tired. And she wakes up about 3 a.m, and she looks over, and he's not beside her in the tent. And she sets up, sort of disoriented, listening, trying to figure out where he's at or what's going on. And she can hear him talking. And she opens the tent just a little to peer out and see who could possibly be coming upon them here at 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe another hiker or what have you. But she looks out and she sees a woman. And the woman is at the edge of the little camp area. She's kind of on the outskirts. And he's talking to the woman. He's telling her to come closer. And she said she immediately felt panic, just like this overwhelming fear. And she wanted to just shut the tent and just kind of leave him out there with her, but common sense prevailed. And so she opened the door and she stuck her head out and asked him what was going on. And as soon as the woman, they set eyes on each other, she said, she felt like she was something evil, or she just wanted to get him away from her as quick as she could. And she said this is in the summer, but still in the middle of the night and hiking, and they're way up in the mountains. This woman's got on just like a thin-looking shift or like a dress, and she's not got a coat on or anything like that. And she said she looked like she was wet, like her hair was all wet, and she had these weirdest looking eyes. She said she had these deep green eyes that had this eerie glow about them, or this eerie look to them. And he's talking to her, asking her to come closer. He's got a little fire going, and she don't act like she wants to come near the fire. And he's saying, "Do you need help? Come on in." And he thinks she's someone in trouble. And she steps on out and puts her arm on him. And she said it was immediately like he snapped out of it. And she's like, she's trying to get his attention that something's wrong with this picture. At the very least, it could be somebody trying to get him in some sort of trouble. This woman looks out of place. And she does that. The woman hisses at her. And in the email, she said she bares her teeth and hisses at the two of them. And she said her teeth were sharp. And she said immediately, she's a Catholic woman. She is a Catholic woman. And she said she wears this cross around her neck, and she grabs her cross and says, "Mother Mary." And the woman whips around and jumps back into the lock, she came out of the lock. Oh. And he turns around. He's just I don't know what to think. And after they calm down a minute, he's wanting to look for her, thinking she's still someone that needs help. And she's trying to talk sense into him, like, this is not normal. That was not a woman. I don't know what that was. That was not a normal woman. Yeah. So they're so upset about the whole thing. They build the fire up and just stay up the rest of the night and hike. They end up hiking on out at first light. And she said she paid close attention to see where she'd went in, and there were hoof prints. It looked as though something with hooves, not a barefoot woman, but something with hooves had went back into the water. And when they make it on out, they think they should be right on time, and it turns out they lost a day somehow. That when they come out, they should have come out on a Wednesday, and it was a Thursday. And so somehow during all that, they lost like a whole day. So, oh boy. Yeah. That was the story.
Wow. Can I interject something real quick?
Of course.
Sure.
Do you know offhand if either one of those two had a death in their family? And the reason why I ask is Jennifer and myself did a Caravan of Lore episode. This is so similar to the Banshee. All the behaviors that you just described was just so to a T what Banshee is. Usually a family member will pass away shortly thereafter. Do you happen to know if that would be the case?
I don't, but I'll email her and ask. She did say as time went on that he began acting more and more. They ended up not being romantic with each other. They sort of got more separate and separate because he seemed to be fixated on it. And he would have nightmares of this particular woman, and he would swear that she was still, like, haunting him in some way, I guess. And it was finally just too much for Laura. She just sort of, once she started dating another guy, they sort of lost touch with each other. But she felt like he was way more affected by the whole thing than she was. It was almost like he was under some kind of, she said if she hadn't woke up, she felt like he would have walked right off with her. He would have absolutely went right off with her. So I don't know if it might have been the Banshee or not, but it got me digging, looking into some of the other folklore, and I found something called a Bavanshi. Have you ever heard of that? In Scottish folklore? Well, this is
I have not, no.
Okay, well, this is from Catherine Briggs' Encyclopedia of Fairies book, just so you know. But, okay, so it says this Highland word is the same as the Banshee and means fairy woman, but it is generally employed to mean a kind of succubus, very dangerous and evil. And it gives a story, an example. And this is really quick. Can I read it right fast, Shannon?
Of course you can.
Okay. Didn't want to take up too much time. It says 4 young men were on a hunting trip and spent the night in an empty shelling of a hut built to give shelter for the grazing season. They began to dance. Oh, sorry. Wait, no, that's right. They began to dance, one supplying mouth music. One of the dancers wished that they had partners, and almost out of nowhere, 4 women came out of the woods. 3 danced. The 4th stood by the music maker. But as he hummed, he saw that the couples dancing together, that there were drops of blood falling from the men. He fled out of fear and pursued him. He took refuge among the horses, and she could not get to him. He figured because of the iron on the horses' shod feet. But she circled around him all night and only disappeared when the sun rose. He went back into the shelter and found the bloodless bodies of the dancers lying there. Their partners had been sucked dry of blood.
Mm.
I thought that was creepy.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, good call, Vance. You got that one spot on, didn't you? That one is called the Babanshi. You said, Pam.
The Babanshi.
Babanshi. Cool.
And it's spelled Baobhan. So it's a Gaelic word and pronounced Babanshi. It looks like Bahan.
Well,
but yeah, I just thought that was really interesting.
It certainly sounds like the guy had what we would call a glamour put on him. I mean, why in the hell would you still be worried about jumping in the water after her after she had sharp teeth and the hideous, she's wet and she's got no coat on, even though it's freezing cold out, obviously, need a fire. That's really very, very creepy. Yeah, the hissing, that's a nice touch. Yeah, I forgot about the hissing. Oh.
That's kind of creepy.
Yeah, I know.
Big old bag of notes.
Yeah, and the hooves, I thought that was interesting.
I was listening to, I was reading Nick Redfern's Women in Black, and there's several cases in there where when these otherworldly females, whenever they're confronted, they'll hiss as in a response, don't
that give you chills?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Nick Redfern, they're just he's not trying to classify it. He's just saying these otherworldly beings that people have seen do this, and this.
Well, it was like a collection of Women in Black stories that I was reading.
Right.
So it was just an overall collection.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's like, yeah. And in a few cases, like when the and usually they're like either related to like aliens, or it's like either they're harassing people that have either had a UFO or abduction encounters.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some others that are just like more, I guess, sort of sound more Fae-like. And those ones, once they're confronted or, someone comes close to them and the gig is up, they'll hiss and recoil.
She was saying they stoked the fire up. Like, she got the impression, whatever it was, it didn't want to come near the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason he had gotten up first is because she asked him later why, because he was already out when she woke up, and he said that he couldn't sleep, and he kept thinking he could hear like a crying or a moaning. But then when he got out there, he didn't hear anything, and he was already up, and he couldn't sleep, so he went ahead and built a little fire up. And she felt like that might have saved him, too, because if he hadn't built a little fire, then she would probably just woke up and it'd have been gone.
So, yeah, he hears a moaning, and instantly he's the protector, and he's going to go see who's upset, who's crying. I need to, take care of somebody. And that sounds a lot like when you hear the baby cries in the woods, and they attribute it to Sasquatch or whatever it might be, or the Fae, right? You're like, well, this is a little out of place here, is... the baby cries and such. So, that is, that's a hell of a story, huh? If you hear anything more back from her, definitely let us know. I would be interested to see if she's got any more information on this, or did she say anything like, we won't be going back there ever, like never ever? I'm sure it was terrifying, right?
Yeah, it was. But she did say that he would continue to go on hikes and stuff, but he didn't go back to that area either. I mean, he was sort of fascinated by it and felt drawn to her, but at the same time, he was definitely terrified.
Yeah,
because he was still having these nightmares, and he felt drawn to her.
Yeah, because she wants to eat your soul, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the synopsis there. A hashtag soul eater yum yum. No, that's not.
Yep.
That's not cool at all.
Yeah,
That's,
but if she's really hot, it's totally worth it.
yeah. Right. Chris is like, look, I have the answer here for you guys. It's not that much of a mystery. That's incredible. Before we go, first of all, thank you guys all so much for joining in. This is going to be fun, I think, if we do this once a month. There's going to be a lot happens in a month, as you know. So, if you don't get to, your tale, don't feel like, oh, I couldn't fit it in that one. It's not the end of the world if we tell it next month. Vance and Jen of the Caravan of Lore, you guys make sure to plug your website before we pop off here, because I forgot to do that in the beginning. Sorry. Go for it.
Oh, no, that's quite all right. It's, well, Jennifer has really done a wonderful job with the Caravan of Lore, which can be found at caravanoflore.com. And of course, there's the Facebook group page. If none of you are a member yet, it's the Caravan Library of Lore. You can find that at Facebook. And of course, feel free to put in whatever it is that might be creepy or whatever amuses you. Feel free to pop on over there and post whatever you'd like over there. Of course, it's a family-friendly show over there, so there's other venues on Facebook that are more adulterated.
What are you trying to say? You saying that ITF is a little tongue-in-cheek?
No, not at all.
Things like Krampus Snatch?
ITF is for us non-snowflakes that can handle it.
Yeah.
We like to keep it, family-friendly, but feel free. Jennifer's done a wonderful job with putting in a lot of the folklore and fairies and creatures and things, Pam, that you might find interesting, whatever. And then, of course, I'm partaking over at the existence of Strange Things at Radio Memphis. So you can go there, too, and listen to me do news over there. So thank you, Shannon. This is a lot of fun.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, it can't be done without you guys, my insiders. So we certainly have a good time just even in the Facebook group. So I figured why not take it a step further. So, man, I really appreciate you guys.
No, anytime.
Yeah, it was fun, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.
Oh, you guys are welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys in the old Facebook group. And I think that tomorrow or today's Monday, right? I'm like, what day is it? Tomorrow or Wednesday.
No,
I've got
Thursday.
some. Don't even screw with me, dude.
Today's my Friday, actually. Today's my Friday.
Oh, that's all that matters then, really.
It's Thursday.
I don't know. Today's Tuesday, but to the rest of the world, it's Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway.
Sorry, I'm doing
There's a mind effing going on here, but that's okay. That's fine. I know how you guys operate.
That's what this group is about.
Yeah, if you guys can't screw with me, then who can? No, but I'm going to be recording a video episode of some of the emails that I've gotten that are really interesting, because I know I haven't done that in a while, is share some of the emails and listener stories that maybe they don't really want to come on, or maybe it's just fun to read the email and that's what they want me to do. So I'm like, cool, I got the permission to do it. So I think I'll be posting that up too. So, but I love you guys.
Say one other
yeah, go for it.
Can I say one other thing to anybody that's still on the line? One thing that I think is really cool about this group is that there is a lot of people that are doing their own thing in terms of putting out content. And being a person who works in the radio industry, I do seriously heavily believe in cross-pollination and cross-promotion. And I think that it only ends up benefiting everyone. I think when people act like they're the only ones that are doing something, they're only hurting themselves,
it's asinine. Yeah.
And by listening to you guys, I've become a better, I gained knowledge from everybody. So I just also wanted to say, I mean, obviously, Shannon, you know this, but Vance, everyone else, I think we've discussed even that I've mentioned that I'd like to get you on just to talk about what you're doing, what you're into. And so I just want to put that out there that we should all be high-fiving and supporting each other. And I would love to have anyone and everyone that is willing to come and share with our little side project.
Yes.
We'd love to have you. So great to officially meet a bunch of you on the phone.
Well, yeah, no better
Likewise.
words could have been spoken. I feel the same way. Jennifer feels the same way. Shannon and myself have had private conversations. She feels the same way. It's not about my podcast is better, my radio show. No, it's about all the listeners, and it's not about us. It's about them. All of this to me, and I'm speaking for me, but I make it about the listener and what their experiences are. That's what I find fascinating, and I think that's why we all do this. And then we all share. So, yes, that's a good point too.
What was that, Jen?
What did you say, Jennifer?
What did you say, Jen?
Oh, I was saying I like the family feeling. You guys are my family.
Oh, yeah.
My spooky, weird family.
Yeah, spooky high fives, man. Like Clint would say, spooky dookie, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about casting the net wider. If a show wants to, be like mine, like a little pelican or something, that's fine. But they're not gonna be. There's no scratch in the back, and you're not going to.
No.
You're not gonna have that outreach like you would. That's what they're not getting about. Not talking about other podcasts. Bringing other hosts on is an incredible way to not only get more ears on the podcast, but get more stories, both sides of it. So, yeah, I never understood that.
Totally. And how many times have I told you that, or that you've shared with me that somebody found me through you, or vice versa?
Yeah.
And
right.
The people, and I think because we're into it, we also obviously listen to it. And the more content that's out there is better for everybody.
Yeah.
Obviously, the people who are into it would like to have more. They gobble it up. So I'm blown away sometimes by the unwillingness to support one another, or to try to act like something doesn't exist because you feel threatened by it for whatever weird reason. But I think that that's one of the coolest things about the ITF group, and honestly why I don't even worry about doing my own Facebook group or anything, because I just appreciate being a part of that bigger community. And then if people happen to trickle down, then I'm cool with it. But so anyway, it's just great to hear you guys vocally and be on the phone with you and be able to pass things back rather than typing in a comment and coming back a few hours and responding.
Right.
And we should all be best friends, and let's go to the club now.
Yeah. Dude, hugs the
radio like it.
It's great that everybody brings their own unique flavor to it as well.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it.
Now, who is that again?
Me too.
It was Pam. I said I'm not
Pam.
a radio person. Yeah, I'm just a listener, like a lowly listener, but I do appreciate that you guys are willing to help
there
each
is
other
no
that
such
way.
thing. There's no lowly anything.
Okay. So you'll have to forgive me because I've become confused with multiple voices and names and everything, but that's my ADD. But so Pam, you just read the fair email. If you're just a listener, how did you get that email?
Yeah.
Oh, I was on a show. I was on one Shannon's show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're a huge part of things. So we set up a secret email address for her and the whole nine, man. It was all clandestine, badass stuff like MI2 over here.
Hey, Pam, take us with you at the end here. Pam, take us with you. You're the listener. You're more important than us.
Absolutely.
You're the listener. Without a listener, we could do radio shows all day long, but without a listener, there's no point in doing it. So
yeah, it's monologues, and nobody wants to hear us do monologues.
More important weight than what we do. So yeah.
Dude, huge high five.
All about the listener.
You think you're trying to hide from people on Facebook? I go
That's true.
The name of a Bigfooter who
deceased
is the weirdest person I've ever known to human. So I'm Daddy Perry. I just tried to friend you.
Yeah,
and if anybody else doesn't know, Clint is Dadis Perry on Facebook. That is me, and I use that so that I can operate in these groups and it not affect my national media presence.
Clint one time got a message.
Go.
This guy is like, why are you impersonating my dead uncle or whatever the hell that was? It's hilarious, man. Who the hell are you?
Yeah, his grandson got a hold of me.
Grandson, there it is. He's like, who the F is this?
Tribute page, dude.
Oh my God.
That's
Hey,
the tribute page to the greatest Bigfooter I've ever met. Or, well, I've never met him, but fascinating person. In fact, if you want to hear something really funny, I don't know, we hadn't put out the episode where we talked about it, but we did a little Facebook Live video, and I had bought this book at the in the Olympic National Forest when I was up there hanging out with the guys from the OP. At this little gas station, I bought this book, and it was like monsters and tales of the Pacific Northwest or whatever. And basically, it was just like really bullet point encounters of certain things in that area. And then at the end of the book, there's a chapter where it's just like, we don't know when this report was submitted, but here's some other things that we have. And I'm not kidding you. There's a line that just says, Dadis Perry. Now, we all know, or maybe you don't know, but there's the famous story about how he thought that a female Sasquatch was hitting on him at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But in this particular bullet point in this book, it says the Dadis Perry was approached by a female Sasquatch who was hitting on him, but she was wearing a cape made out of deer skin.
Oh, hot.
Ow.
That's hot.
I have to mute myself. I'm laughing too hard.
She was wearing a cape.
She's handy.
Can accessorize.
Yeah, exactly. Chris has got that spot on. She knows how to accessorize, dude. She probably, scrubs the armpits a little bit. Dadis Perry, dude.
So hot.
Is it all right if I throw up my show?
Oh, Chris, of course. And by the way, hold on one second. Because I was going to close out with introducing exactly who you were to everyone. If you go to the End of the Fray group, the very famous now John Paul Capice Demon was drawn by Chris, who is in this call right now. And also, if you go to my personal Facebook page, the cover photo of the shadow people and me riding on the ATV, that was a total surprise, by the way. Chris, thank you so much. Actually, they both were. He's like, so I just couldn't get this out of my head, and here it is. And I'm like, oh my God, it's effing incredible. He's an incredible artist. And yeah, what have you been working on? Please go ahead and plug that stuff, Chris.
Yeah, I've developed my own show, which is called Conspire a Theory. You can find it on any podcatcher. Just go ahead and search for it. It's pretty much, I'm trying to go for a paranormal approach, but I'm going the completely raunchy route. And it's pretty much, I'm just doing just general topics right now until I can get some good paranormal guests on.
Awesome.
But it's just, because I have an episode come out. It's going to be coming out next week where I take on, the conspiracy of obesity. And I take on that acceptance. And this week, and what you were talking about cross-pollination, I actually go out there and I talk to other podcasters and have them on my show. And, we just talk general nerdy stuff, and it's fun. And it's nice to, to get to know the neighbors.
That is a great way to put it.
Hear, hear.
Yep. Yeah, cheers to that. Huge cheers to that. So, the cross-pollination is also another wonderful way to
so again, I'm going to ask, what's your handle? What's your last name? I just liked your page on Facebook, but what's your last name, Chris?
Holm, Holm.
Holm. I'm sorry for making you have all this editing to do.
I'm going to leave it all in. I don't give a shit.
Oh, word. You're right down the way, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh-oh.
Are you born and raised Texan?
No, but I pretty much lived in San Antonio all my life.
Oh, okay. Right on. My brother lived there for quite a while and worked at the Sony plant. And one of my best friends, actually the guy who we did the episode about the Lechuza, the Owl Witch. He's a San Antonio resident. His family is pretty kick-ass down in that way. And so always...
cool, thanks. Good to know there's shit working in my backyard.
Well, cool, man. It's great to meet you, too. So I'm just like, I'm going through Facebook saying, who are you again? Here I am.
Yeah.
So is there anybody else I'm missing, Shannon?
I mean, you already kind of know Jera, I think, so you're good there.
No, I
And
don't
then
know
you've
that
got
guy at all.
this
I texted
guy,
him a minute ago,
the smoker
and
guy.
I got nothing from him. So he's
what
dead
about
to me.
what about
that
Mary?
guy.
Are you in contact with our good buddy Mary? She's always commenting in the insider group.
Yeah, we're friends.
Mary.
We're
Okay,
friends
cool.
on Facebook.
Okay, Mary's on it. She's
Mary
like, yes, I know this
Herprenich?
this mofo.
That's me. Yep.
Yep.
Dude, you're famous, man. You're always on the place.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
on
we're
it, dude.
already buddies on Facebook.
Except Mary didn't do her call sign. She was supposed to call in and do some super heavy breathing, and then I would know it was her for sure.
Yeah. What happened with
The
that?
creepy breathe.
Disappointed.
Sorry.
A mouth breather.
Next time I'll do that next month.
Okay, it's gotta
I feel like we
happen.
missed out. And did Jera ever say anything?
Yeah, a little bit. He's
No.
just saying he's monitoring. He's like the call screener for me. He's got the old
monitoring. He's high as a kite.
That's all right. He's
What's
in
that?
Eureka, California. What the hell you want, man?
I'm lurking. I
Lurking.
prefer lurking.
Yeah, he's a lurker.
Hey, so is what is his name? Brendan from the Ghost Story guys here?
Brennan had to duck out.
Brennan.
Yeah, Brennan texted me. He's like,
Okay.
"Hey, sorry I had to drop out, but tell everybody thanks so much." Yeah.
Okay, well, I liked his page too. I mean,
Cool, man.
I didn't even know that.
Thank you.
Like, I didn't even know that you knew him. I don't guess.
Yeah,
I don't know how I figured out about that podcast, but
I know some pretty cool
I
folks,
swear to God,
including
if our
all of
po-
you guys.
If our podcast, if our podcast was called Paranormal, Spooky, Ghost, Weird, Sasquatch Talk, I feel like people would have a better idea of what we do. But
I think isn't that
like
what
I
we all should have
purposefully
done?
made it obscure.
Yeah. You're like, multi-topic is too clean and neat and pretty. Let's really just make sure we get the catch-all phrase in there. I love it.
Go ahead and make sure
What?
that people think that we're just in Oklahoma.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, hey,
We're-
high five, Shannon. Thank you so much for having us, and everybody else. It's so great to meet you, and we'll be seeing you on the interwebs.
Yeah, man.
All right, bye-bye.
Good.
Bye, guys. Thank you
Later.
so much.
Bye.
Love.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
You guys, too. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm so-and-so. I was given this name by my parents. I've been to such and such a college. I've done these things in my profession. I produce a little firecracker. Buddha says, forget it. That's not true. That's some story. That's all gone. That's all past. I want to see the real you are now. Well, nobody knows who that is. Because we don't know ourselves except through listening to our echoes and consulting our memories. But then there's a real you, and that again leads us back to this question. Who are you? That is the real you. We shall see how they play with this exam by the cohorts to get you to come out of your shell and find out who you really are. divided on this. They will say, no, we don't believe literally in reincarnation. That after your funeral, you will suddenly become somebody different, living somewhere else. They will say reincarnation means this, that if you sitting here now are really convinced that you're the same person who walked in at the door half an hour ago, you're being reincarnated. If you're liberated, you'll understand that you're not. The past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. There is only the present. That's the only real you that there is. The Zen master Dogman put it in this way. He said, spring does not become the summer. First there is summer, and then there is spring. When you settle down in the train to read your newspaper and so on, you are not the same person who a little while ago left the platform. If you think you are linking your moments up in a chain. And this is what binds you to the wheel of birth and death. But when you know that every moment in which you are is the only moment, this comes into Zen. A master will say to somebody, get up and walk across the room. And he comes back and he says, where are your footprints? They've gone. So where are you? Who are you? When we are asked who we are, we usually give a kind of recitation of a history.